Welcome to the Arrow Podcast. My name is Chris Mulvaney. Today I have Dan Sachkowsky with me. Dan's a great guy. He's got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm interested to hear a lot more about his business and how he can help maybe even you grow. Roll it. Dan, thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate you.
Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to hear all about you. I met you not too long ago, so I know some about you, but not a ton. So I'm excited to hear all the good stuff, bad stuff, and the ugly. We're gonna have some fun.
There's definitely a lot of ugly with entrepreneurs, right?
Hell yeah, man. It's a constant grind. So
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit about first your initial business, and then how that evolved into what you kind of do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Tee it up for
So
everybody.
straight out of high school, 17 years old, started a construction company. I knew I was unemployable. Growing up, I would say below average. I knew that I wanted more. So being an employee wasn't going to give me what I wanted.
So no college. You
No
just went
college.
straight for it.
I didn't even graduate, really. I have the empty diploma.
There you go.
Yeah. So I was playing football in school, hoping that I can, maybe, go play football. Didn't have the grades. Academics weren't there, and I was short. So I said my chances probably aren't there.
Yeah.
So started my own construction company.
Okay.
Had no idea what I was doing. I went to Votech, learned construction, and I literally bought a truck for $500. Rickles was going out of business. I bought a bunch of tools.
Old school Rickles, yeah.
And I literally said, hey, I'm in business. Made a business card. I do decks, I do doors, I do windows, knocking on doors, doing everything I could.
Right.
By the time I was probably in my 20 or 21, we built our first house. And I went to school for blueprint reading, like night classes at vocational tech, just to learn the whole process of that.
Wow.
And
That's pretty baller. Like just after a few years of business, fucking building a house.
yeah, so by the time I was 24, that was like 2006, I made like over 600 grand that year.
That's awesome.
2007, I lost everything.
Yeah.
Economy crashed. It was all over.
It was brutal years.
But I was only in business during good times. 99 to 2006 were all good times. There was never bad. It was coming. All of a sudden, boom, phone stopped ringing.
Right.
$30,000-$40,000 a month at 25 years old. Having to pay in bills. You're like, shit. What am I going to do now?
Yeah. Yep.
So it was an awakening. And at that point, I realized that I was money driven.
Yeah.
So I think when we're all young, we want to be rich.
Yep.
And we think rich is chasing the money goal.
Yeah.
But after that was all said and done, I realized that I got my kids, they're healthy. I may not have any money, but the reason why I do everything is for my kids, right?
Yeah.
So I changed the whole dynamic of why I did everything moving forward from that point moving forward. Say, as long as I have purpose and passion for what I do, money will always follow.
Right.
But number one, don't always put your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Spending so much time, 7, 8 years, however long it was, doing one thing, and then it all falling apart, realizing that's not how wealth is created.
Right. Yep. But that's what makes you a super strong entrepreneur too, right?
Yeah.
Like you hear any of these big guys, they're like, I've been rich and I've been broke, and I've been rich and I've been broke, and it's like this constant like up and down. Sometimes I think even for myself, your head gets in the way, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm loaded. I have endless resources, and you get cocky, and then shit can fall apart really fast, and you're like, holy fuck, I just I'm not doing what I used to do anymore.
Yeah.
So it's it's important. And you said something there that's super important too. I want to highlight is purpose, right? I was introduced to the idea of like, why do you exist and why do you do what you do a long time ago. And then back in 2020, when COVID hit and we lost 33% of our revenue, I was like, fuck, like this sucks. I don't even know if I want to do this anymore because, it was out of my control. It was all these other businesses that were, basically shut down, and I couldn't do anything about it,
Yeah.
So I'm like, marketing is challenging sometimes because no matter how hard you try to set the expectation for the end user, the client, sometimes it's just not 100% in alignment, and you can do a lot for a client, and maybe they don't appreciate it as much as you would want them to, so it frustrates the fuck out of you.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, so it's like, well, I don't want to do this for, to make money. Like, I got to figure out why I'm doing this, and that's when I got into, like, understanding purpose. And once you're driven by purpose, it gets so exciting to wake up and to fucking come to work and do what you do,
Yeah.
And it's great.
I think so many people spend their entire life chasing the dollar.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's no fulfillment in their life.
Yep.
They chase a dollar to go on vacation. They chase a dollar to buy a car, chase a dollar to buy a house. but now what's next?
Yeah.
Chase another dollar.
Right.
You
Yes.
know,
100%.
and when you look at entrepreneurs and people of significance or people who've like been broke, have money, been broke, have money.
Right.
We understand the concept of living and what we're living for versus chasing the dollar. And we
Right.
see the value in time, buying our time back and doing those
Right.
kind of things
Yeah.
versus working overtime, working an extra day and spending 100 hours in a business, you know, and people don't understand the concept of like, you could work until you're dead,
Right.
but what do you really have to show for it, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's those like other moments that really, make it, make life, so I'm right there with you. And I think there's a lot of people like even that I network with today, that are like, man, you have this attitude or like this persona, like you just, you kind of like, you don't care about certain
You don't give a
things,
fuck.
and it's like, yeah, no, I don't. Like I care about anything and people, but like it's more so being happy, that's my biggest goal here is just like, how do I be fulfilled? Because I was in that same spot with you, right? Like making fuck tons of money. And then I was sitting there at a table with my wife and my CPA, and they told me how much I made. It was north of $1 million that 1 year.
Yeah.
And take home. And I was like, fuck, what's next? Because I always wanted to make $1 million.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's next? There was nothing there, and I was pissed. I actually got pissed. And
I know
was
the
like,
feeling.
"Fuck." You're like, holy shit, that's it. Like I didn't know what to expect, but I thought it was going to be bigger.
You
And
felt like you undershot and you really, you're like, oh.
yeah, I'm like holy, like this should be different,
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And it kind of gave me a little bit of a reality check. It's like, you know what, that's not what it's about, and experiences are what it's about, and that's what I'm trying to. Do more of, not only personally, but even with my clients, is create experiences with them.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's super important to realize that, money does have a ceiling. When you hit certain thresholds in your life, people don't understand. They think, oh, only if I had more money. But if you had more money, you'd have bigger problems.
Right.
And if you had more money, you'd be broke at a higher level.
Right.
People who can't control or understand money at a low level don't ever know how to do it at a high level. So money doesn't solve problems if you can't create, good money patterns in the beginning. Money's just going to create more problems, and it also creates frustration. So at the point where you were, you're like, oh, I made all this money, but like I'm frustrated. Like, what do I have for it? You know what I mean? It's just money.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, definitely. So you were in construction. Market took a shit 2007, right? I was through that too. It was a brutal time. Even 9/11 was a little challenging, and then COVID. These big moments where like you just keep getting punched, right?
Yeah.
What happened after that? You had like kind of this new realization. All right, like I don't want to do this for money anymore. Like, what did you start doing after that?
So 2007, I got involved in like direct sales network marketing.
Okay.
Everyone said, multi-level marketing, scam, blah, blah, blah. But dude, my aunt's been in Mary Kay for probably 30 years, and she's got a pink Cadillac every year. So
nice.
I said she's proven to make it, So if I could sell lipstick and make $1 million, I will. So I got involved in an industry just because construction was low, the real estate market was low, and made millions of dollars in a course of like 5 years. Was a guest on The Apprentice a couple of times.
Oh, cool.
Me and my ex-wife were on in the Success magazine, because of all these different accolades that we had. But I feel like those accolades happened, and I was the one building the business. She wasn't. The accolades happened because I had kids, I had a family, I had a house, and I had a reason of why I needed to do it.
Right.
And I think most people, when like a situation where you lose everything at 2006, they become paralyzed for the rest of their life, or they dwell on it for so long.
Right.
Like I had no option. I have to make money. My
Right.
family needed me at that time. So I went after it and I chased it. So I was totally like ignorant to the fact of what I was doing.
Right.
But I knew it could provide some kind of income. So the less I knew, the more I would be powerful, because I could just chase it.
Yep.
So many people in business, and is they try to get involved in the business and they want to know everything.
Right.
And that's the ultimate failure, right? Like just get started.
Right.
You'll learn as you go. And that's why I've seen so many people over the years not be able to progress in business, is because, I'm not ready yet. I need to learn this. I need to know this.
Right.
Like, dude, you're never ready.
Right.
You just got to go.
Seriously.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like you got to suck before you're good.
Yep.
Just like a kid in sports. Like imagine every kid who's a professional athlete today at their age waited till they were great. We would have no professional athletes.
100%. Yeah. I say that all the time. Too. It's like you have to fail. often. Go fail. Like I tell my kids that too. Like fail. So the more you fail, the more you're gonna learn, right?
Yep.
Like don't be afraid. You got to take shots, or you're not gonna, hit a goal, right? So
It helps you. It really like helps you internally. It helps everything going on in your life. If you can walk through those situations, you realize that like failure is not something that's going to hurt you.
Right.
It's something that you have to grow through and see what the mistake was, where the wrong turn was, whatever it is, and how can you make it different next time and use it as a pattern for growth.
Right.
So hence my next book coming out is Failing Your Way Uphill. It talks about 14 life failures that I had that motivated me to get to the next step versus paralyzing me.
right. Yep. Yeah, and that's a challenge. Sometimes it's like, how do you get out of that? You're so fucking stuck in your head, like you can't get out of being paralyzed.
Yeah.
So, you need somebody to help you along, a coach, mentor, somebody, right, to really kick you in the ass and be like, all right, snap the fuck out of it. You're not this person, keep going. And I think that's where a lot of people can use, somebody like you and even myself, right? Like we need to, be motivated, be accountable, have a plan, have a goal, like I had this great example last night. My son's taking golf lessons from this guy. He's like a New Jersey Hall of Famer golf guy, right? I'm not a huge golf guy, but my son loves it. 14. So he's like, I'll take a look at people swinging, and they'll hit a ball, at a range, and he's like, they'll say, "What do you think, coach? How'd I do?" And the coach he'll say like, "Where were you aiming?" And he's like, well, the guys will be like, well, I wasn't aiming. I was just hitting the ball. He's like, well, then how the fuck do you know where you want it to go, right? Like, you can hit a ball hard, but, like, if you're not aiming at something, and I was like, that is so true in everything in life, Most people go through life without that goal or that, like, intention. I want to do this, So
Same goes for employees, right? So like employees show up, oh, I work so hard. Oh, I work so many hours, but it's not about that. It's like, what is the value you're bringing to the hour? What is the end goal that you're looking for the day? It's not about clocking in and clocking out.
Right.
It's about the result.
Correct.
So it goes from the employee mentality to the business mentality to the business coach mentality. Everyone, it's always about the result.
Right.
But I think at a low level of life, even at your son's age, he doesn't know yet that it's about the goal.
Right.
It's just about contact. Let me hit the ball. But now that he's getting taught, it's about the goal. It's
Right.
about the mission. It's about where you're trying to land.
Right.
And learning that young, that's just going to make him so much more successful.
Right.
And even if you tried to tell him, you're his dad.
Right,
You know
yes,
what I mean?
yeah.
Dad, I get
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
Dad. I get it. You're yelling at him.
Right.
and you're telling him versus coaching him.
Right.
So I think it's important. And I think a lot of things that people don't understand is that you're a coach, I'm a coach. I have a coach.
Right. Me too.
My coach is expensive.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first started coaching years and years ago, maybe it was $15,000 a year. Now my coach is $100,000 a year. And, people can't, they're like, oh, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you understand like the value, like if you spend $15,000 a year on you, you can make an extra $75,000 a year.
Right.
You spend $50,000 a year, you can make extra $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like this, the value and the importance of knowing what that brings to the table and the knowledge that you're paying for.
Right.
You go to college for $100,000 and what do you have left?
Right.
A piece of paper and a bill.
Yeah. And most of those people, those teachers are like antiquated, haven't been in the industry doing what you're plan to do God knows how many years. So they don't know shit about fuck.
Yeah, and most professors, they profess.
Right.
They don't actually do what they're talking about.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to school for business. Well, what does your teacher know about business besides a book?
Right.
You can't learn from average people how to be above average. It just doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So you said second book. What was the first book?
First book was Life Defining Moments by Bold Thought Leaders.
Cool.
That
Awesome.
came out 2014.
Nice. And when is this new book coming out?
So I'm building my platform on YouTube and Instagram. Once I get my Instagram to I would say 200,000 followers or more, I'm almost at 100,000. And once I get my YouTube to 100,000, then I'm going to launch it because I'll have a good audience.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to self-promote and use my book. Use my audience as leverage just to get the book out there.
Yeah, nice, awesome, cool. All right, well, we'll have to give everybody an idea of where they can find you on social too at the end of this clip. Too.
Definitely.
Okay, so you can stay in touch and keep an eye on you. I'm excited to see it too.
It's already done. Book's all done. Cover's done. The entire book is done.
Nice.
I'm just not launching it until the right time. Because
Awesome.
I've seen so many people. I want to write a book, and you go to Barnes and Nobles or wherever, bro. Thousands of books on the shelf.
Yeah. Yep.
But if you're not known and people aren't buying your book, it's just going to sit there.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. You said something before, about paying a lot of money for coaching, right? I think the other thing that is kind of underestimated or undervalued is proximity, right, to successful people.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you're paying a high ticket number for, a good coach, they'll have these group environments, or like they know so many fucking people that are business owners that can help you.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, yo, Dan, I'm gonna hook you up with this guy because he's gonna take care of you, or he's gonna give you business or whatever, right? So I think that like there's a lot of value in that people don't even like think about when they hire a coach. It's like, who does this guy know, and who's he gonna help me, connect with? Essentially,
Yeah.
could change your life. That one relationship, It's
Yeah. So if someone's doing, let's say, my coach does like 20 million a year,
okay.
right? So someone who's doing, he's worth 200 million, but so if he's doing that kind of money and that kind of revenue, who are the people he knows, right? So like you said, and his first thing is like, you coach with me, I'm going to turn you on to everyone I know, all my resources, all my connections. And I do the same thing, so I'm coaching at a lower level, and I'm turning people on to people that they would have never met.
Right. Yep.
And that's what I tell everyone is like, you don't realize the capacity of change and the volume of change that one person, one conversation could have in your life.
Right.
Just because someone knows somebody.
Right, exactly.
But if you don't take yourself, if you're always the most influential person in your room and the most influential person in your life, you're never going to be able to expand yourself out of that zone.
Right, yeah, yep, yeah. And that's a challenge to find those people that are better and smarter than you, right?
Yeah.
And get in that room. It's really difficult for some people to be like, identify,
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think, at a lower level of life, a lot of people love being the center of attention.
Yep.
Where I love walking in a room and I want to be the lowest guy in the room because you know what,
yep.
dude, that's so much more valuable.
Yep.
And everything I can gain, I don't want everyone shouting, "Oh, let me get a picture." I'd rather be the guy, walking in that, seeing everyone else getting pictures asked for than me, because I know, hey, I'm in the right place.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. No, there's a lot of truth to that for sure.
That's why you see like all these stupid networking events and shit that we have going on around here. Like everyone goes there, and then they're the prime time. They're so cool. They're this, that, because they have all these people coming in.
Right.
But what value are you really bringing?
Right.
If you're the most influential person in that room and you have all these other little, mics that are following you around, like what's that really doing for you?
Right. Yeah. Nothing but
boosting
head pats.
your ego.
Yeah. Exactly. Nothing but head pats. The Arrow Podcast is brought to you by CMDS, a business breakthrough agency helping brands reinvent and reignite themselves at the core. We work with B2B companies to help them figure out how they're unique and remarkable in their own space, then leverage that information to build great websites, awesome social media strategies, and leadership content that's going to drive more brand awareness to their company. If you're looking to learn more about how we can help you achieve extreme business growth, please reach out to CMDS at 732-706-5555, or you can visit us online at cmdsonline.com. Great so far. Interesting story and progression. Network marketing, MLM stuff will definitely teach you how to market too, which is really cool.
Taught me how to market and introduced me heavily into personal development.
Yeah.
I was in personal development earlier. At 16, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which put me into business.
Yep.
Then I think at
That's
7.
wild. That's at 16, you said?
I read that book.
Yeah. How did you even know to read that book?
So I was when I was going to high school, and I was in a carpentry program. I worked like a co-op program, so I went to work.
Right.
And I had a boss who
He said, read this book.
he said, "Read this book."
Yeah.
And he was like kind of my mentor in the beginning. He
right.
believed in me.
Yeah.
And after high school, I started my own company. During high school, I worked for him. I told him I was going out on my own. He's like, "You're not ready." I'm like, "You told me I was good." I still talk to him to this day. In that first book I wrote, actually contributed my success to him.
Nice.
So yeah, he turned me on to Rich Dad Poor Dad. I used to go to his house on like Saturdays and Sundays when I was like 17 in school, and just like clean his yard, just so I could pick his brain.
No shit.
And ask questions.
He was that smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
Nice.
he changed the dynamic of my life because he's the first person ever that told me he believed in me.
Yeah.
When someone says that outside of your family, and most of the time our family won't even say that.
Yeah, what I say, right.
And he said, "I want you to read this book." I think like I literally, I don't even think Barnes and Nobles was out there, and it was like a different bookstores or whatever. I literally went and bought the book, and I
Right.
literally read it like 4 times.
Yeah.
And it was life changing.
Yeah. No, I read it a few
And I
times.
realized I have a rich dad and I have a poor dad.
Yep.
And I can't be listening to the advice from the poor dad,
Right.
because it's not going to bring me any value.
Right.
Then at 17, I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Okay.
It was a very hard book to get through.
Yeah.
Very boring.
Yeah.
But once I did read it, I read it again, and that was another impactful book.
Yeah,
So
it's a good
that's how I think in the beginning I was able to be like so concrete because these books help you.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we go to school from first grade to 12th grade and we get taught by average people how to be average. So our conditional thinking needs to change.
Yep.
So when I started reading these books, I just realized that all the shit I just learned for 12 years was bullshit.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and there was nothing in there for me to be my absolute best. It was just like, be the best that society wants you to be, not the best that you can be in society.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. There were 3 books. Those 2 are definitely rock star books too. But 3 books I think that changed my life. My output was, first was 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. I don't know if you ever read that, right?
Yeah, good book.
That taught me just like, holy shit, you can like just make processes on everything and streamline your whole like business, right?
Yep.
It, you know, and that only works in certain industries too,
Yeah,
right?
true.
But you know, I wish, you know, I could just spend 4 hours on a work week just doing, you know, everything I could accomplish. However, great book. The second one was E-Myth.
E-Myth's a great book.
Great book, right? You know, you realize, holy shit, I'm a tactician. You know, I got to be an entrepreneur and the manager too. And you know, I'm a creative. You know, I grew up as creative, so it's like, fuck, I got to learn how to be an entrepreneur.
The next book you're going to say is Traction.
No.
Oh.
Psycho-Cybernetics.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know about this book, actually.
Never heard of it.
Dr. Maxwell Maltz. I turned our friend Aaron onto this book.
Okay.
It's a mindset book. It's more about being as if you know anything you want to be, right? You have to act as if you are, and you know, switch your mindset, and you'll get anything that you want. You know?
Yeah, I totally coach people on that. I go, you have to act like you've arrived.
Correct.
And believe that you're already there before you even get there.
Right.
So anything that you want in your life, if you feel like you deserve it, you've got to be living in that place before you've actually showed up.
Right. Yep.
So I'll give you an example. If I wanted to live somewhere or believe that I deserve to have a certain house, a certain size, in a certain place, I got to believe that that ultimately is something I deserve. And I got to put it out there to say, I'm going to be there.
Right.
I'm
Yes.
going to get that.
Yeah.
What's the problem with most people in this world today? I wish.
Right.
I hope.
Yes.
I can't.
And then they're just scrolling, flicking through.
So your life is balanced based on the way you think, and your subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and what you're thinking.
Right.
So if you condition your mind to think something that's totally outside of the box,
Right.
you're going to show up.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and the problem is we ask too many people, and I'm saying we as the majority, but not me, not you. We ask too many people like what they think.
Right.
Like if we want to go into business, hey, what do you think about this? Because why do we do that? We want them to talk us out of it. Hey, I had a good idea, but he told me it wasn't a good idea, so I didn't do it. Versus just doing it. Hey, I'm dating this girl. What do you think? Like if you like the girl, who gives a shit what they think?
Right. Exactly.
You know, we live on an opinion poll based because what everyone else perceives us as is basically who we identify ourselves as.
Right. Yes.
Versus identifying ourselves as who we want to be.
Yep.
And whoever follows.
Right. Yep. Yeah, there's a shit ton of truth to that. Yeah.
And that's what I've seen like so commonly in life is people literally live for applause.
Right.
They live for approval. They live for the thought process of what other people are going to think and how they're going to put them.
Right.
And who gives a shit?
Right.
You know, listen, people don't like me. I don't care.
Yeah.
They don't like me for a reason.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah. Seriously. And I think like that's the important point to hammer on there too. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're gonna resonate with a group of people, right? Like your message and who you are, and it's we're all different. You know, everybody's not gonna resonate with everybody, right? So you have to once you can accept that, and I think like it took a really long time for me to get there. You know, like when I was in my late 30s, that's when I was like, you know what, I don't even give a shit anymore. Like I don't give a shit. Whatever. Like, you don't like me, go fuck yourself. Like, we're cool. This is my world, and everybody's living in it. You know,
that's the way. So Aaron knows I was like that. Like, and then when he connected us, he goes, "You guys will like each other," and we didn't know each other.
Yeah. No.
Then we start following each other, seeing what each other are doing, and that's how you see, like, the disciplines of life are based on the things that you put in your life and the approvals that you look for, right? So I don't look for approval anywhere.
Right.
I just look for connection.
Yeah.
Like, how can I bring value to you? How can you bring value to me?
Yep.
If you don't like 10 things I'm doing, but you like one, how do we utilize that one?
Right.
And versus everyone tries to make everything align in their life. It doesn't work like that.
Right, yeah.
There's so many different people, so many different places in life where we should line ourselves up for even one shot, and it can literally excel in other things
Yep.
versus trying to be perfectly aligned with everything else.
Yep.
Or, people are literally, living in a way that they want to be perceived as something that they're not.
Right.
And that's a big problem that we have in this world today.
Yeah, yep.
This is what I want you to
Socials
see me.
fucked everybody with that. Yeah.
Destroyed it.
Yep.
Destroyed it.
Only showing like the best, and it's everybody's trying to be somebody that they're not.
Yeah, the guys with their Louis shoes and their
Right.
shirts,
Yep.
the $500 shirts, but they got no money in the bank.
Right. Yeah.
Because they want to be looked at.
It's usually that way.
Yeah.
So I'm rocking a fucking t-shirt and jeans today, bro.
Always, I always got Nikes on.
Yeah.
And usually basketball shorts and a hoodie is kind of like what I roll with.
Right. Yep.
No matter where I was. I remember one time I was at my house and. Guy comes up and he goes, "Is the owner here?" I was like, "No, he doesn't come around much." I look like a homeless guy,
Right,
ripped
yeah.
shirt, cutting the grass, you know what I mean, on a big mower,
Yeah.
But that's the way you want to be. You want to be original.
Right.
And I think so many people, they get one taste of success or they want to be in a certain place and they follow certain people, like especially in the social media world.
Right.
They start changing who they are. Stop. Changing the way they dress because they think that that's going to be something.
Right.
But ultimately it puts them in a bigger state of depression because, it's like you're putting on a mask, you're putting on makeup every day to step into a world that you really don't belong in.
Right. Yep.
People love the original you. Stay who you were
Yep.
and who you are and be true to that. And no matter what happens, if your bank account grows, if your life grows, if your family grows, whatever it is, you're still your original self. You just became a better version of it.
Right. Yeah. And you're happier with yourself too, because you're not like playing a part to get some notoriety or attention that like you're not going to get anyway because it's so visible. It's so you can see when somebody's faking it.
100%.
So tell me a little bit about coaching, right? Like who's your ideal client? What do they do? Are they in an industry specifically? And then like what the arrangement is like, how often are you talking to these people?
So I like to deal with people who are in any kind of service-based business. Because I feel like a big portion of the world today is a service-based business and people don't know how to grow. They don't know how to scale. I would say 85% of people are a bottleneck of their business because it's a control factor. And that's why most people, if you look at the stats, I think most people in business, like 95% of business only hit $1 million.
Interesting.
And most people can't go beyond that.
Right.
Because it's a control factor.
Yeah.
So I know that like when I was young, I was 24, whatever. I asked my coach, I'm like, why am I not growing? I think I did like 200 grand a year before I did 660 or 666 or whatever it was. And my coach said, "You're a control freak." I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're doing the estimates, you're on the job, you're doing the paperwork, you're doing all," he goes, "You only have so much time in a day."
Yep.
"How much free time do you got?" I was like, "None."
Right.
Working 7 days a week, missing birthday parties, missing all this because I'm sitting there doing paperwork.
Right. Yep.
He goes, "You got admin work that is the cheapest thing to fill, the cheapest void to fill, and you're doing it. So you're taking it back then. What was minimum wage? Like $10, $12. He's like, you're taking a $12 an hour position. You're an owner, CEO, so you got to be $500 to $1,000 an hour, whatever it is, and now you're making yourself a $12 employee.
Right.
And then you're sending out the invoices, same thing. You're sending out the emails, same thing. You're answering the phone, same thing." He goes, "So what is it? You want to be a slave or you want to be an owner?"
Right.
So that's when I understood the concept of working on my business, not in my business.
Yep.
So I hired somebody to come in, a girl come in, make the calls, do all the filing. I was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
This can get done Monday through Friday. I don't have to do it on Saturday.
Right.
Then started letting the guys go. I think I hung my tool belt up in 2006 and never swung a hammer ever again.
Yeah.
Put foremans out there, put guys who are responsible. I think the biggest problem in business, it's the most selfish thing that we've all said. You've said it, I've said it. Man, if I could just find another one of me.
Right.
We've all said it.
Yeah.
And that's the most selfish thing we can ever say. Because at the end of the day, what does that make us feel like? We're the king, we're the best. But when we realize something, we're good at what we're good at, and there's one thing that we can excel at.
Right.
So if it's our business, it's going to be mainstreaming our business and getting it to the best spot. Oh, but now I'm a best secretary, I'm the best paper pusher, whatever it is.
Right.
And there's the problem.
Right. Yeah.
So what I focus on is anyone who's in a business that has multiple roles and maybe they're not diversifying and bringing people in to take on those roles. And let's say they're doing $1 million a year. How do I get you in the next 12 months to 5 million?
Right.
Well, the first problem is you. So let's identify what the problem is with you,
Right.
which people don't want to hear.
Right.
Oftentimes I make my coaching clients cry
Okay.
because I'm real with them.
Yeah, I've done that a few times too.
And it's good. I think it's good because I allow you to become vulnerable, but at the same time, I get it out of you. I don't want to hear the bullshit.
Right.
And I ask some pretty deep questions, like when I first start with someone, to really know, digging down deep, like what the real problem is. And 95% of the problem is the person.
Right.
But we blame our team. We
Everybody
blame
else.
this. We blame that. So creating culture, getting the right systems and processes in place, putting the right people in place,
Yep.
so you could do what is most important. Number one is buy your time back.
Yep.
What's our most valuable asset?
Yeah, it's time.
You know, oh, I work 100 hours a week. That's cool. I don't.
Yep.
You know, it's
Yeah.
9:00 on a Thursday and we're sitting over here, you know, but our team's working.
Right.
You know, and that's what people don't understand is getting yourself out of the way and allowing other people to do their stuff without breathing over their neck.
Right.
So that's my ideal client. Anyone who really wants to grow and truly, truly, truly says they're stuck.
Yeah.
Because most people, the economy, the this, the that.
Yep.
But there comes a point in business, you've been there, I've been there, where
You
you're
have to
just like,
admit,
you're frustrated.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck's going on? I'm doing everything I got to do. Why can't I do it?
Right.
And you just need someone from the outside to look in.
Yep.
So I do a half day in person right away with my client, really to figure out the root of what's going on. Unlimited access, text access.
Wow.
Like, so I like voice text
Yep.
all day, every day. Shoot me a voice text. Within a couple hours, you'll get an answer back.
Yep.
And the reason why I like voice text is just because, like, hey, if I'm working out or something, I could just play it, you know, what I'm doing. I don't have to read something and text, and I could just voice text you back, which I think is super efficient.
Yep.
And it's unlimited.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, once a month we do a live call for an hour. Or if you're local to me, we'll go sit down and, you know, come. We'll figure something out. Because I bounce back between here and Florida, so wherever it is I am, I have a guy who's about to start coaching with me in Texas, and I have another guy who's going to probably start coaching with me in Texas as well. So I'm going to fly down there and I'll meet with them both
Yep,
and
that's
do their
nice.
half days together, like separate
Yeah.
days but together. But I think really connecting with people one-on-one and being face-to-face, you really get a lot more than you would over a Zoom, you would over a phone call.
Yeah.
And it allows me to have better results.
Right.
You know, so every quarter, if you coach with me for a year, every quarter we're meeting face-to-face one day every quarter.
Okay.
Every single month we're talking for 1 hour, you know, whether it's Zoom or live. And then we have unlimited access. And by the time we get to that second quarter, I've given you so much work to do.
Right.
And I'm not a guy who's gonna be like, go read this book, go read that book. It's not about that.
Right.
I tell you about the things that you need to implement to get yourself out of the way. And I think a lot of times what I've seen with coaching clients, and I'm not sure if you're the same, but the first week they're hyped, life hits them, adversity challenges everything,
Yeah.
and now they become paralyzed and like they feel stuck.
Right.
That's why I have that unlimited messaging. Like, dude, if you got a lawsuit who just knocked on your door, like call me.
Right.
We'll figure it out.
Right.
You know, and like people don't understand, like this shit's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Whenever you're about to break through, so many bricks are gonna fall on your head. But it's all about what you build with them.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
that's
like,
true.
dude, I have lawsuits still. You have lawsuits. We all have lawsuits. And when you're in business, you're going to have people coming after you.
Right,
And
yeah.
the higher you go, the harder it's going to be.
Yeah, that's true.
But
And
just, who
I-
gives a shit?
I was talking about this actually yesterday. I've only had one lawsuit in 23 years of business, which is fucking awesome and bananas at the same time. And the guy was telling us to, who's been in business 10 years, he's like, oh my God, it's like once a year I'm getting sued.
Oh, same shit.
It's
yeah.
crazy. I'm like, wow. So, you know, I mean, it's good. You know, and that was a misunderstanding on the other party's part too, what happened there. But
Your benefit to that is not the norm.
Yeah.
Most people in business are
Yep.
getting sued every year.
yeah,
You
it's
know?
wild.
And it's just because people don't inspect what they expect. And whenever there's a root problem, everyone wants to blame the other person.
Right.
So that's why I kind of like taken myself out of the construction industry. Like,
Yeah,
dude,
that's
you can't make nobody happy there.
Yeah, no,
You
that's
know
a
what I mean?
tough one. Yeah, like especially dealing with homeowners, man. Like, you know, that's a challenge. Everybody's, you know, they're up their ass. They want stuff immediately. You know.
I got a guy I'm coaching right now. He's in the construction industry, and one customer was just like a real piece of shit to him. And this is a story I'm getting. I don't really know the truth. And then this customer started blasting him on social media and all these pages. And this person like was influential, so that was blasting him.
Yeah.
So this dude's like crawled up in a hole, and he's
Right,
like, "Oh
yeah.
man, what am I gonna do?" I'm like, "Bro, that's what you got to face. Just face it. Just go
Yeah.
after it. Keep doing what you're doing,
Right.
and let that person talk." You have to realize the person who shouts the loudest is the person who has the most to hide.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
You
that's
know?
true. I love hearing that.
Right
Yeah,
or wrong.
yeah,
You know, so like, listen, we have done shit in business that maybe we're not proud of. You know, this is all part of the learning curve.
right,
But it's taking that personal responsibility to know, hey,
right,
maybe I should have done this differently
right,
instead of pointing the blame.
right.
Listen, everything that we go through in life, we are where we are because of who we are.
Yep,
And everything is going to happen.
yep,
So no matter, even if I read scripture, I read a book, whatever I read, it's all in there.
yep.
You are destined to get your ass kicked for the rest of your life. It's going to happen.
Yes.
And if you're not ready to fight, then go sit up and crawl up in a ball and
Right.
live a mediocre life.
Right.
But if you want to be the best version of you,
Yep.
you're going to get the shit kicked out of you.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just the way
Every
it is.
day.
Every fucking
Every
day.
day. Yeah.
Every day.
You have to persevere and be, strong enough and be aggressive, or else, you're just you're gonna coast and go downhill.
How do you overcome that? How do you overcome the beating that you know you're going to get every day? What do you do?
What do I personally do? Well, it's just mindset, man. Like I'll wake up and I'm like, all right, I got this going on. It's, today might suck, but you know what? I'm going to actually crush it and do everything I can. It's just like turning it around. And there's going to be a few things today that are going to make this a huge win. And I'm going to affect somebody's life in a positive way and hopefully change their life, So it's like really just turning things around, even if I know I'm going to go into a day and there's going to be some challenges there.
What's your morning routine like? What do you do when you first wake up?
So wake up, shave, brush my teeth, hop in the shower, go downstairs, say hello to my family. I've been fasting, so I'm not really eating breakfast anymore. I'll do like a 16-hour or 18-hour fast. I get in my car, head to work, and then I listen to 5-minute homilies with this app called Hallow, which is relatively new for me. So it's been about 3 months. I've always been big on affirmations, right? So I do have affirmations that I will go through in the morning as well, things that I want to tell myself. But after that, I skip that part, which is probably important to include here in this dialogue. I'll do 5-minute homilies. I was reintroduced to faith, religion, the past 6 months by not only friends, but even business associates. They were like, it's like that other thing that
faith is the substance of all things hoped for, man.
It's crazy.
It keeps you tight.
It's the other thing that I grew up Catholic, went to church.
Me too.
It was
I'm
just thrown down.
I tell people I'm a recovering Catholic.
Yes, it was thrown down my face, my throat, and my kids, when it came to the point, my wife too, when it came to the point where we're gonna baptize them, but they never went to church, yeah. And they didn't go to Catholic school, they didn't do CCD or anything like that. I'm gonna let them choose what they want to do, but that has also been very helpful in my life now. Recently, it's like that one thing that I kind of wasn't doing. I eat good, go to the gym, business coach.
Mind, body, spirit. You got it all now.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And then I get to work and I look at my day and I look at everything I had to accomplish, and then I go crush it. And sometimes I have a few days of the week where I have blocked out to go to the gym in the morning too. So sometimes it's not just straight to work. Sometimes it's going to the gym first. So.
Perfect. Yeah. So when you talk about Catholic and all that, I feel like that's mediocrity, right? That's the world pushing in a direction where the world believes is there. But I believe that, and again, if you're Catholic and watching this, but I whatever, I just feel like Catholics like organized crime, right? You literally show up, they give you a box of envelopes, you got to deliver a check every month, and if you don't, you're no good.
Right.
Yeah.
But
at the end of the day,
that's what really bothered me about it too. Even when I wanted to get married, we, my wife and our families were do the church thing.
Yeah.
We had to go to pre-Cana before we were able to get married in the church. Meanwhile, we both grew up going to Catholic church. It's what the fuck? It felt like a money grab, It was
100%. But here's what I realized. So back when my son was 18 months old, he fell out of a window 20 feet in my house.
Jesus.
Yeah,
wow.
He turned white, nothing.
Scary.
Thought he was dead. But that's when I was reintroduced to my faith. So it was 2007. And what I really did, so I went to Catholic school growing up. My mom today is still a devout, Catholic and big time, but whatever. We can have our arguments about God, but I tell her I don't want to talk about it because what she believes and what I understand are two different things. Right. So what I realized in that time of day of 2007, and this might be some education to the audience, is that when you go to a Catholic church, what do you actually learn? The priest reads the Bible, but doesn't explain the Bible. tells you a story about something going on in the parish that really doesn't matter, and you're humming and hemming and going on your knees for what? You're basically reading a book but not teaching, getting taught the Word of God.
Right.
So I went to a Catholic church when my son fell out because I felt like, maybe this is God calling me back. I fell asleep. Same thing I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was boring.
Yeah.
Then I went to a few different Christian churches. And the one thing I realized throughout that, time and that point in my life was that, wow, the pastor has kids. The pastor's got a job.
Right.
The pastor relates the Bible to everyday life.
Right.
I've never heard a story like that before in church, ever.
Yeah.
So I tried a couple different churches. I think after 6 months, we found a home, and it was life-changing.
Yeah.
And I'm not a perfect Christian.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, none of us are perfect. And I think that's the one thing that we can understand from Christianity is that, like, the Catholic world puts you, if you sin, you're in trouble, you're going to hell, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But that's not what the Bible says.
Right.
The Bible literally says Jesus died for our sins and all the things that we've done and we're going to do. And people don't understand that unless they're in the Bible and understand the Bible.
Right.
It's not these man-made rules of, like, you do bad.
Right. So many translations, right? It's like,
right. Look at how many people were in jail.
Yeah.
Right. And for murder. Then they came out and they preach, the Bible. They've changed their life.
Right.
Damon West, right? He was attempting life in prison. Now he's got the Coffee Bean book. He's changing lives every single day.
Right.
There's something that happens when people actually really connect to God and, that world. And I'm not trying to take this whole thing on this path, but it's just the understanding of that.
Right.
So that changed my life. And I understood that the principle there was that, like, I'm not the big person anymore. And I think by getting involved in something, you realize, like, you can only control what you can control, and you got to let it go.
All right. Yep.
So my morning routine, like, is super important to me. Like, I wake up 5:30. I really, really, for the last, I would say 10 years, try to give myself all the time I need before the world gets me. So I'm not grabbing my phone, not going on my phone. I'm waking up, I'm reading a couple devotionals, reading some scripture, read a little bit of whatever book I'm reading, 10 pages in the morning, 10 pages at night of any book that I'm reading. And then I journal. So every single morning I journal. Even if I'm going to be late somewhere, I'm still going to do that because that's my first thing.
Yep.
And I've been writing down over the last 2 years, not only what's going on in my life and what I want to happen and asking God questions, but things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah. No,
and when I started doing that, like, so many things, just like, it's like, you just feel like lighter and lighter and lighter because things are just coming off of you. And then I work out in the morning, and then I usually start my day somewhere around like 9:30, 10. Workout's done. My time's done. Everything's done. And what I found was that, like, I'm at my peak. I'm at my peak performance after all that stuff's done because I've given myself the ability to, like, train my best, be my best, show up my best, and not let the world grab my attention.
Right.
So what's 90% of the world do when they wake up? Pick up their phone.
Right. Scroll.
What's going on social media? Check their email.
Dopamine hits.
Yeah, because you feel like, if I don't hit this now, I'm going to miss something.
Right.
Like, dude, I can go hours and hours and hours and not be on my phone.
Right.
And then, like, even I look at it, like, I get so many comments on Instagram. There's no possible way I could fucking answer all these comments.
Right.
I read them all, and things that are, like, good, I'll read back. But this is going to be maybe hours and hours later because I set the time up for what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah.
But if you're not giving yourself time in the morning every day, like you're doing on your ride to work, and you're giving yourself, like, your phones, whatever, on your passenger seat, whatever, but here's the problem. People are listening to what you're listening to, but they're looking at their phone.
Right. Yes.
How much are you really paying attention?
Well, right.
And you're trying to drive.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Really be focused. Like, and how you know that shit hits you is, like, how many times have you missed your office driveway because you're listening and you're going, I got to turn, or, like, real quick, you're not thinking, or you missed the exit, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Because you're actually engaging in what you're trying to do and making yourself better.
Yep.
And I just don't think that the world today is so understanding of how personal time and personal development affects your life.
All right.
And this is why we're in such a fucked up place right now.
Yeah, no, seriously, you're 100% correct. I think silence is important too. That one of the things that I do, and you forget about all these things because they're habits. But on my ride, I will listen to the 5-minute homilies, but I'll and they're actually really great. But it's silence everywhere else I go, and on the rest of the ride. So no music. I don't even listen to audiobooks anymore when I'm driving. I took this course a few years ago by the Flow Research Collective. It's about getting in the state of flow and being able to accomplish like a month's worth of work in one day.
Yeah.
And it's about like removing all the distractions in your life on a daily. And so like not, constantly being on your phone flicking through, not, watching TV, your computer desktop has to be super clean, being very organized and thoughtful about what you're going to focus on, that whole day. But it's silence before you go to sleep at night, no phones, try to avoid TV even, sitting in silence whenever you can for a long period of time, like an hour, just because if you don't give yourself
meditation.
You don't give yourself a chance to think through all the shit, like you're going to be so overwhelmed and anxious because you feel like I have all this shit to do, but you haven't given yourself a chance to work through it,
How much TV do you actually watch?
Oh, like right before bed, half hour, and that's it, if that, and it's like, my wife needs it to go to kind of fall asleep.
So that's why I use a TV to fall asleep.
Yeah.
I don't even watch it. I'll turn the other way.
Yeah.
I just need like the background noise because I can't fall asleep in silence. But, people are like, oh, I'm going to go watch my series. I was talking to a guy the other day, even a guy who's going to, purchase this one company. He's like, oh, I'm going to just watch Netflix online. And I text back, Netflix and chill, LOL.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't even do that shit.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, like, that takes up so much of your time. And if you have time to literally watch TV and do all this stuff in your life, watch series, like, dude, you need to do some other stuff.
Right.
There's things missing in your life.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs don't have time for that.
No, you
shit.
don't have time for
I
any
tell
of
people I have more TVs in my house than the average person, and I don't watch any of it.
Right. Yeah. No,
I pay a cable bill for whatever it is, $107 a month, and I don't even watch TV.
Right. Yeah. A lot of truth to that.
So I think it's important for people to realize that the number one defect in most people's lives today is the world controlling what they do and their thoughts, and them not controlling the actions that they're taking to make themselves better.
Right.
And they're using social media as a platform to say, like, this guy does this guy does that, this girl does that. Mm-hmm. But that's all fake shit.
Right.
These people are not living an abundant life. They're not living a great life. It's these are people who are being loud, and the noise is affecting everybody.
Right. Yes.
Making people believe that this is the way we should be doing things.
Right. Yeah.
And I really think that, like, social media should be something that's like almost like timed in people's lives.
Yeah.
Like, if you had 1 hour to go on Instagram, TikTok, and whatever a day, how more effective would it be for you?
Right.
What would you use it for?
All right. Yeah.
Versus hours and hours.
Isn't
and
that fucked up? Like, you said an hour, right? Most people are on it for like 4 or 6 hours a day. It's crazy.
I was on a podcast on Tuesday, and they were talking about like their screen time, like 9 hours, 6 hours. And I'm like, dude, that's crazy.
It's intense. Yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy.
People allow that stuff to be effective to them, and then think about like how many people, even though we know people that are in business, we have other people who are in our life. How many times you get a message from people or buddies that you maybe grew up with, and they're sending you dumb ass shit, like dumb videos to watch?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, dude, can you stop sending me this shit?
Yeah.
You
I'm
know
like
what I mean?
not even friends with them anymore, because like they would make stupid comments on business posts, like, just busting my balls. I'm like, dude, you can't be playing in my playground right now. Like,
exactly.
It's not cool.
Yeah,
so
you gotta level up.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there are a lot of them that are like still getting 30 racks and drinking, them in a 2-day period, and getting fucked up all day and not like doing anything. So it was that was a big thing. I hung out with like 20 guys, awesome people, and like I went like this, and most of them went like that.
I think that's great always to talk about, and I know we're probably running short on time, but I think for a listener, and I don't mean to question you on your podcast, but I think it's good for everyone to know, is like, we outgrow our circle.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realize how okay that is. Like, we still love our friends.
Right.
But we can't love spending time with them if they're not bringing value to us.
Right.
And the minute we start changing our association, it becomes priceless. It starts bringing us to a different level of life.
Right.
But so many people want to hold on to, and to that childhood friendship in that group.
Right.
But what does that group talk about?
Right.
A common past.
Right.
And if you're not spending time with people who have a common future, you get stuck in this place where you can't grow.
100%. Yeah,
so
man.
you just talked about that.
Yeah, yep, yeah. Dude, listen, we're almost at time here, but I want to make sure people know how to get in touch with you here. If somebody wants to work with you as a coach, how they're going to find you? What's the best course of action?
Biggest platform is going to be Instagram, Big Dan Official.
Okay.
On Instagram, or dansachkowsky.com.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Everything is on there. I have a free 7-day coaching program that literally a 7-day series to help people, get in the right spirits, get in the right mind, and really reverse themselves out of that place of being stuck.
Awesome.
And all my information's on there.
That's great. Awesome. Very cool, man. So, all right. Well, dude, that was awesome having you on the podcast.
Yeah,
I know
appreciate the invite.
Yeah, of course.
You'll be on mine in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's bananas. I might head up there with Aaron. We'll see, because I think he's in the same day.
Well. Yeah, same day.
So yeah, no, we talked about it. It's gonna be fun. I'm pumped. So yeah, man. Thanks again.
You got it, bro.